active and all that, getting hit multiple times, coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you today from Barber Motorsports Park. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams for the first time in what feels like a bajillion years, is Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Welcome back, Josh. Hope you enjoyed the other vacation out there east to get some maple syrup there in Ontario, and welcome back to the Formula V's, man. We're going to have a lot of fun here at this track. Bit technical, a little bit of drafting opportunity, and usually we have got some fantastic racing here from the Formula V, so I feel like this race really going to be no exception. Yeah, happy to have you back here in the booth. Yeah, I just thought of something. There's a bit of a streak that I've had here on SMB as of late in your absence, as we still kept the lights on here on Slow Motion Broadcasting from XSLR on the 21st of December all the way through until New Year's Eve on the 31st. Every single broadcast here on SMB was produced by me, so that's a nice little streak, I gotta admit. I was commentating a decent amount of it as we wanted to give our employees some time off for the holidays so they could spend with their loved ones, and certainly got the opportunity to do that myself, and rang in the new year by drinking some cream soda out of a glass bottle, which tasted interesting, shall we say the least. I feel like cream soda is something that's either done really well or a little bit iffy, but before I get lost talking about beverages, let's talk about the qualifying session that we're currently in the midst of. Darmay Toomey, your current provisional pole sitter. Interesting to see Tortolo slotted in third. Tor's gone off to a fantastic start this season, hasn't he, Josh? Won in a thriller of a finish in the opening round of the season at Snetterton, and last time out at Donington Park. I know you weren't around for this broadcast, but I was. He was dominant in that race, walked away with a pretty comfortable victory, and now holding on to a comfortable pole, a 143.1.
Yeah, you know what? I think my mic may have not been working there. We're a little bit rusty. It's been a little while, so I just want to say again, thanks for the warm welcome there, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. It's really glad to be back here. Hope everybody had a great holiday and everything else. I know I did, and again, want to just thank you, Ron, for holding down the fort here while we're gone. But yes, I'd like to kind of back up your thoughts here with Thor. Some pretty awesome first rounds here for sure, and this one's going to be difficult, Ron. This place is technical, it's fast, it's hard to pass at. Really looking forward to it, and couldn't be happier to be back here as we're watching Tortello actually take the lead here. As we were talking, Darmay Toomey just behind him. Jorg Mani again showing the speed there from the Masters class. You know, we might have to move him up to S1. You know, just because you're getting a little bit old there doesn't mean you're not fast. Jorg proves that every week. Brian Szynski going to be our sponsor with his brother Dan this week as well. If you look up in the right-hand corner every once in a while, they've actually come up with a pretty cool little logo there that we're liking quite a bit. So we're going to save that one to the logo file. Hopefully we'll be seeing that a bit more this season as well, Ron. But yeah, I missed a couple rounds here. Perhaps you can, during this, if you see anything, you can fill me in a little bit on some stuff that happened. I try to keep up as much as I can, but man, I'd get into how my trip was, but delayed flight, sleeping on benches, days late, wrong tickets, wow, but really good visit with the family though, and I hope everybody else had a good one too. Great to be back.
Yeah, sleeping on benches sounds like something that usually goes on in the city of Philadelphia for sad sports fans whenever they're coming back from the stadiums down in South Philadelphia. But it's been a pretty all right season up to this point. I do want to thank it's actually Dan Szynski and his new best friend Brian Hansen. I believe Brian will be a sponsor a little bit later on in this season. At the moment, it's those two that actually met in Florida not too long ago. Now, I do have the other results up and rolling. I had to finally get my notes and everything squared away because in the midst of the holiday season and some blind panics, and also being in witness protection for the other broadcast a couple of weeks ago for the season opener, I haven't really gotten an opportunity to sink my teeth too far into the season, but now I have got the opportunity to take a look at Snetterton and that wild finish that you and Charles got the opportunity to call for the season opener. Felix Samoas started that race from the pole. Angel Soto, who will be making the leap up into Spec 1 after this race, was your pole sitter in Spec 2, where Alan DeGassis was your pole sitter in Masters. And then it was Tortello, Russ Tucker, and Andrew Love getting the wins in their respective classes. Andrew Love has started the season off in style with back-to-back Masters wins. Tortello has done the same in Spec 1, while Spec 2 has been won by Russ Tucker in the opening round of the season at Snetterton, and then Donington, it was Angel Soto grabbing the W there. So we have a fantastic season to look at here. Some tracks that, interestingly enough, are remaining the same in between the end of Season 4 of 2025 and Season 1 of 2026. Of course, we've already had Snetterton and Donington, the doubleheader there in the UK, Barber here for this round of the championship. Then we're remaining in North America for the next couple of weeks. Next time out, we're going to be running at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway Road Course. That'll be a very fun race. Then we're going north of the border to Montreal, there, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That'll be a very interesting race for week number 5. And then following that, yeah, that track is really fun. Also, the Spec Race Forts last season, I think, for the season finale. Phillip Island after that, so we'll be staying in North America for not the longest amount of time, going down there, down under in the middle of the winter, so that'll be a hot race to look forward to because it'll be the summer down there. And then Summit Point and VIR back-to-back weeks, same place in the schedule that they were last season. And then Chicago is brought in for one of the later rounds of the championship, round number 9 of the season. And then the final 3 weeks are going to be exactly the same as they were last season. Alton Park, Okayama, and Brands Hatch for the final 3 rounds of this championship. So a lot of great racing action to look forward to here for season 1 of 2026 for the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Hope you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But in the meantime, let's switch back into qualifying. Looks like everybody has gotten their laps more or less taken care of, and even with some extra times and a bit of a nibble taken out of the gap, Tortello still holding on to that top spot.
Yeah, Tor's still holding on to it. This is a pretty technical track here. He's going to follow. Actually, it looks like he's actually going to slow down here into T1, but you know, this is not an easy track to get your hands around when you're first learning it, especially. I think most of the drivers here have had a pretty good chance to be around this track once or twice by now, but even then, you know, it's not easy to race around here. It's really easy, as we're seeing Felix Samoas there taking a bit of liberties with the track there. Maybe not a total off track, but pretty close. Really easy around here to get yourself into trouble. It's easy to kind of go up the inside of someone at the wrong spot and really slow the whole pack down, or find some track limits really easily. Maybe some passing into T1. There's a few spots you can get it done around here, but you have to be fairly aggressive about it, and you know, it's going to have to be one of those calm, assertive types of moves that sort of gets it done. Maybe not the biggest draft track in the world. Pretty awesome, unique area though, for sure. I always do like coming here. I've never driven here in a V. I've been here in the FFs and in the SRFs, and I really did enjoy it, but it takes a bit of time to get this track down pat, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of racetracks that we'll be visiting throughout this season that take a fine feel. I think the last time that we saw Barber be used here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, excuse me, nothing severe. I was just huffing paint before I got this broadcast up and rolling. But no, I think the last time we saw this track get used was for the Extreme Motorsports Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge. It was round number 2 of that season. Gosh, I think that was way back in September or October. It's been a little while since this track got used. Doesn't get a lot of love on iRacing, which I think is a bit of a shame. I know the YouTube chat is definitely a little bit biased since our old pal Mr. Charles Bochelle is there in the broadcast, in the other broadcast chat, and professing his love for his hometown track of Barber Motorsports Park. And a lot of racers in the Weekend Warriors world get the opportunity to race around some pretty unique racetracks. I believe there are some people in the radio sports world that have gotten the opportunity to race here as well. So this track really does take a unique feel, and this scan is also a little bit old, it must be said, so that kind of adds into the uniqueness of this facility even more.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a bit of an older scan. You can tell here just by looking at it. You know, some of the new iRacing stuff is just beautiful, and Barber, you know, really cool track, very cool venue, but they definitely need to do a bit of a refresh on this one and make her look a bit nicer. But yeah, just to back up some of those points as well. Not an easy track here at all, as we're watching Felix Samoas just kind of finish off his last lap here. Got about 2 minutes left in qualifying. Not too many people on track. Everybody's kind of happy with where they're at right now, it seems, at the moment. You know, and that can kind of maybe show, you know, people around here are a little bit confident perhaps that they're not out there trying to push it right till the very end, till the last lap to try to get that time in. Looks like most of the drivers here are pretty happy to be where they're at the moment, and that to me just kind of signals either A, you know, you're pretty confident about what's going on, or B, maybe you're not so confident and you're just sort of happy where you are right now. You don't want to get too pointy on that end, get somebody too fast behind you who's going to push you into a mistake, or maybe just a little bit of extra tension there off the line at the beginning. So an interesting track, not an easy one to pass on. You know, you're kind of fighting the track around here for sure. It's not a lot of time to rest, even in a V around here. And in a faster car, it is a busy track, and you're just hustling all the time. I find it honestly hard to believe, even watching a V around here, that that Indy cars race around here is just wild to me. That this place is so fast and so hustly. I don't think if this track was made today, you'd put an Indy car on it. Do you, Ron?
It is a little bit interesting to think about the nature of this track and how IndyCar races here. Back when it was built in not too long ago, it was only built back in 2003, which is always a little bit surprising. You don't usually expect a racetrack like this to be built in the 21st century. However, this track, when it was built, was pretty much immediately used for IndyCar testing. But I'll hold off on that point as I'll drag in for a quick little chat. Dan Szynski, one of the sponsors of this broadcast. Dan, sorry for dragging in a little bit late. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sponsoring this broadcast. I want to quickly ask you about this race, though. This is going to be a wild one, ain't it?
Literally, I don't know what's going to happen in this. Last night in the draft party, I was on pole with my brother next to me, and Brian Hansen ended up winning. So you guys are in for a treat. That's all I'll say.
Nice.
Yeah, I am expecting some chicanery, some pandemonium here in this race. And good luck. Thank you for sponsoring this along with Brian Hansen. And we'll look forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack. And I'll keep my fingers crossed that the sponsor falling anvil doesn't come down on you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. And that right there was Dan Szynski, one of the sponsors of today's broadcast here for round number 3 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. If you enjoyed the show, happy to hit that subscribe button and the like button on the stream as well. But let's take a look at this starting grid. Have a short pace lap. So Josh, I'll pass it off to you to take a look at the starting grid.
Yeah, so in the lead here, we have Tortello in P1 from Brabham Motorsports. In P2, Dharma Toomey from Apex Twin Racing. In P3, we have Andrew Love, Masters driver. In P4, we have Andy Middleton hailing from England. In 5th place, we have Master Racing Team's driver Jorg Mani. In 6th place, we have Felix Samoes from Type 116 Motorsport. In 7th place, we have Brian Straczynski, sponsor of today's race, and Guido Marzucci in 8th in the Fart Racing Machine. Thomas Renders is in 9th, and in 10th place, we have Jason Greider.
Yeah, and Guido, your reigning P2 finisher in the Spec 1 Championship back in Season 4 of 2025, looking to create the same kind of stink here this season. Jim Brewster got to start this race in 11th alongside other series admin Michelle Lynn in P12. Looking right behind on run number 7 will be Alexander Gorson alongside Russell Telker. Brad Cathcart will start this race in P15. Alongside him will be Rodrigo Tostas. It's Brian Hansen, other sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, in 17th. Next to Nick Tullo in P18. Edgar Sancinelli will start in 19th. Alongside him will be Brian Szynski. Michael Lattarulo, new to the season in the Spec 1 category, that is, will start this race in 21st next to Stephen Westcott in 22nd. Aaron Visser in 23rd. Gary Kittle in P24 here at this starting grid, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. Just 2 more drivers. In fact, Brett Thompson and Brian Belansky running at your 26-car starting grid here for round number 3 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on SMB. Josh, one word to think about how this race is going to be.
Yeah, I think this one, let's call it calm and assertive. 2 words: calm, assertive. That's what you need around here for success, and a good jump at the start here. Good lap in the beginning. I think we're green.
Yeah, and Tortello got a great jump off the start. The green flag flies, and the drivers are on their way. That was slick right there, Mr. Wilkie, off the back of back-to-back poles and back-to-back wins. Solo trying to keep a stranglehold on this season. We'll see what he can do. Everybody else fanning out side by side as they head their way through turns number 2 and 3 at the start of this lap. The immense elevation change around this track may wreak havoc with these racers running on cold tires at the drop of the green flag, but it looks like it hasn't caught out the racers up at the front. However, as they head their way down into the small little crackle run into turn number 5, this could be when drama breaks out.
Yeah, absolutely. This first lap trying to sort it out through some of these. Oh, and we see, I believe that was Brad Cathcart having a bit of a moment, keeping it clean there, though. Jim Brewster making it around him. A couple other drivers kind of stumbling a little bit. Got Michelle Lynn in that pack as well. Jason Greider, I believe, just in front of her. So everybody's kind of trying to sort it out now. You know, this first lap into these kind of wiggly bits here near the end of the track are some of the more difficult spots to try to figure yourself out, where I'm going to call them wiggly bits from now on. I believe that was patented by me a few weeks ago, and anytime I can't get a track name in my head, I call it a wiggly bit, and that's what we're going to stick with. But it looks like everybody's made it through there pretty clean so far. Got a little bit of challenging here coming into the last part of the lap, but super clean so far. Loving it.
See, now I need to start calling like S's sections on racetracks gummy worms, because I feel like that would be a good phrase to add into my repertoire as well. You always got to have some good phrases here in the broadcast with some good running jokes. Falling anvil, abducted by a UFO. I had a conversation with my dad not too long ago talking about the amount of phrases that I coined, and he said if you probably dropped off the face of the earth, people would still be mentioning falling anvils a couple of years later on iRacing shows, and that was deeply disturbing of a thought to me. Andrew Love, who we follow right now, currently holding on to third. Now, Andrew had a pretty all-right season last season here in these Formula Vs off the back of some good results then. I think he won the third most races in what was a very competitive Masters category with 3 different drivers grabbing checkered flags. Eventual champion Jim Brewster, Alan Degassis, and Andrew Love, your 3 race winners in Masters last season. It was a good season for Andrew in his return to Masters, and looking to keep that form rolling, currently running in third, trying to get his 3rd win in a row.
Yeah, he's definitely been really quick the last couple seasons here. He has found some pace. He's found that group of drivers that he's comfortable driving with. It just happens to be up at the front for him, so that's always a good thing when you can get comfortable around the fast drivers at the front, something I've been working on in SRF for, seems like since the beginning there, trying to stay up front. I can get up there every once in a while in the top 5, but trying to stay there for 40 minutes ain't easy, and that's part of the game. In the V's as well, you got to learn how to kind of hang with the fast drivers, what they're going to do, who's going to be pointy, who's not going to be pointy, and it seems like Andrew Love figuring that out up front. It's a big part of racing to kind of read the people around you, get some buddies, know who's going to be a problem, who's not, and it's the beauty thing about these leagues. You really get a lot of chance to check that out. To be honest, you get a lot of chance to ride with the same people. You see Michelle Lynn going very wide there. Looks like she's not going to be too hurt by that, but Jason Grider right on her tail now. So a little bit of seeing a little bit of blood in the water there. I see Brian Hansen in the background as well, kind of fighting here, I believe, with Rodrigo Tostes. Oh, and we're gonna get a spin. I believe that. Oh no, that's really too bad. Tostes, Cathcart, maybe even Belansky are caught up in that one. Unfortunately, we'll have to go back and have a look. But again, cars trying to use the same piece of track, I think, Ron.
Yeah, and they nearly fanned out 3 wide heading off through the final turn. Turn 16 here at Barber Motorsports Park is tricky enough single-filed, let alone side-by-side. Whenever any racing series is running here, you're probably going to see at least some sort of incident hang off through turn number 16, just a single-car crash. Usually don't see side-by-side racing through there because you can't. Can't see side-by-side racing coming out of the hairpin, though, and that's what we're seeing right now between Andrew Love and Darmay Toomey, who really got a bad run through the hairpin, had a sideways wiggle, a sideways snap, could hear the tires screeching in agony, and he's now desperately trying to cling onto a podium, which he won't be able to do. Andy Middleton able to get past. Now, Middleton had a pretty rough ride. He got involved in the last lap drama at Snetterton for round number 1, and got involved in some first lap drama at Donington last time out. So he's looking to have a better run here at Barber, and he's holding on to a good spot at the moment. P3 and Toomey right behind definitely assisted him in that regard.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure there. Again, you're going to have to facilitate some passes around here and definitely take those opportunities when you have them and strike for sure, and that's kind of what we saw there. We'll try to get back and have a look and see what happened here with the Brian Hansen incident. Let's see if we can't get a chopper view here, and I think what we're going to see a little bit of a wiggle up front, so we got a little bit of a mistake going there. Kind of tightens things up a little bit. Everybody's really close now. And then unfortunately, it looks like just trying to ride that curb on the inside kind of pushed him wide a little bit. Maybe not the most advisable move there, but there was room. Hard to say.
Yeah, that's a problem with side-by-side racing heading off through a turn like that. You got the curb on the inside. That's always going to trip you up if you hit it in these Formula Vs. And just side-by-side racing through their period usually does not end well. Can go side-by-side through many sections of this racetrack, and that is one of them, following Michael Lattarulo and Brett Thompson, who are currently battling at the current moment. They've also got Martin Visser at the front of this little train. That was side-by-side racing off the opening series of corners, now heading down into the hairpin at turn number 5. I mentioned on the first lap the immense elevation change on this racetrack, Josh. I feel like if there's any section of this track that more or less proves it, it is turn 5, because you're cresting a massive hill heading into it, and then as soon as you come down that hill, you're having to worry about the braking zone.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of seems like there's a lot of places like that on this track. You know, while I've driven it, or when I have driven it, you're just kind of worried about a lot of sections, to be honest. At least I am anyway. They kind of sneak up on you a little bit. It's also fairly easy around here, at least for me, to sort of get confused as to where I am, what chicane I'm at. One of them's much tighter than the other one, and you really have to worry about it, whereas one of them's kind of, you know, a little bit faster, and it's easy, at least if you're new to the track, to get a little bit confused as to where you are, as we got a pretty big pack of cars here really fighting for it. I believe that's Felix Samoes, Guido Marzucci, we have Brian Trzynski in there, Dermot Toomey, all really fighting this area of the track here. Looks like they're going to fan out a little bit more now, but I would expect some fireworks from this group of drivers here before the end. We know Felix Samoes wants to move forward and that he can. And these drivers in front of him are going to make it as hard as they can on him, for sure, as they should.
Because I can see a little bit of smoke in the air. Now, the thing is with these Formula Vs is whenever they shift, you do get some puffs of smoke. So you can never tell whether or not there's been an incident or something of the sorts. 3 wide through turn number 3. That's Jim Brewster out under Gorson and Thomas Renders. Renders on the outside. Look at that. That is absolutely fantastic as they head their way now down to the hairpin at turn number 5. Russ Telker right there to strike in case these drivers run into difficulties. Your current leader in Spec 2 maybe going to get involved in this battle, knowing the pressure from Jason Grider right in tow as side-by-side racing still going on between Gorson and Renders, some past winners in Spec Racer Ford competition, and now they're going to be running side-by-side into the chicane of doom here in the V's. Gorson going to jump out, Renders feeling some pressure from Brewster. He's going to have a bit of a wiggle, going to lose out on that spot as that is close to disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Some genuine formation flying there early in the lap. We got the Blue Angels out there. Perhaps they should apply. That was a pretty good display of some formation flying there. Some great shots we got. Everybody able to sort it out. Thomas Renders kind of getting spat out the end there through the chicane of doom, as you call it. I like that. It is a very doom chicane. Every time I go in there, there is a feeling of dread as you enter it, for sure. But yeah, we're looking pretty good here. Thomas Renders able to kind of hold on to that one, but sort of lost out a bit to Jim Brewster. We know Jim Brewster is one of the most stiff racers out there, and I mean that as a compliment. He is going to race you hard. He's going to make sure that he holds that position. His shoulders are wide. He's always very clean, but he's not an easy guy to get around, and I think Thomas Renders just found that out.
And one thing that I will say as well, talking about Jim and the style of driver that he is, I've gotten the opportunity to cover him in various Weekend Warriors races, most certainly here in the V's. I've gotten the opportunity to drive alongside him in some of the Friday night draft parties. He runs a very tight ship in terms of the driving standards here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors world. He knows that there's obviously the spoken and written rules that you have to do. Don't intentionally crash into other people. Don't drive like a maniac. But there's some unspoken rules in the Formula V Weekend Warriors world as well that he usually holds some of these newer races to quite well. He's even held me to them to a certain extent whenever I've been running in the Friday night draft parties, which just amplifies the level of embarrassment I usually feel when I go out there on the racetrack. We're going to handle the Formula V's, but Jim most certainly can, although maybe a bad run through the chicane clipped the curb pretty severely. As up towards the front, Tortolo and Andrew Love making contact. That's through the 11 and 10 chicane, and that's going to be the both of them going off the track, and Middleton into the lead.
Holy cow, yeah, we tuned in just in time there to see it kind of go wild as we're cutting shapes out there, Ron. The 944 all over the road there for a little bit, so he's got to get it back together. You know, that can happen pretty quickly. Guido going to try here to monopolize on some of that, I believe, with Russell Telker, I believe, is on his inside there. Is that right? Am I seeing that? Jorg Mani, actually, perhaps. New livery on Jorg there, looking a little bit like Russell's old one. But, yeah, pretty awesome stuff there for sure. I'm going to go back and we see exactly maybe how that turned out, but two drivers way off the road there from the lead, now back to about 4th and 5th place from a fairly big mistake there. It's some pretty wild driving off the grass here. Let's see if we can't see what happened.
Yeah, so what in the world did take place here? Andrew Love going for the move, heading off into the chicane, clipped the curb, contact is made. That's a problem with the curbs here at Barber. They may seem rather unassuming, but compared to the tire of a Formula V, they are mahoosive. And let's see this from Tolo's perspective. It didn't look like he had a bad run. At first I thought, okay, maybe he missed a shift. No, he didn't. Andrew kind of just going on a kamikaze mission there. That is not a move that he can go in any type of machine. And it hurt the both of them. Tolo dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond. Love dropping down like an anvil push out of a helicopter, breaking at the similes here because of both of them. At one point running P1 and P2, now running P4 and 5 with Felix Samoa as your reigning two-time reigning Formula V champion now up in the front.
Yeah, I got a big shout out to Tor there for the heads up, seeing that coming. That was an absolute bomb about to drop on him, and he avoided it. He saw that coming. Those are senses that, as he's going to go up the inside, really nice sneaky move on the HP car there. He's going to make it happen here around the outside by the looks of it. Yep, he's going to get that one done. So again, Tortello just finding those gaps, being as smooth as possible. You know, a lot of driving is avoidance. A lot of driving and racing is avoidance. Doesn't matter what level you're at, people are going to make mistakes. And if you can catch those mistakes, it'll keep you in the race. And that is super key. He avoided a huge incident there with Andrew Love. Again, you know, not trying to dig on Andrew Love either. That was a move, you know, it felt like it was on, and then all of a sudden, whoop, you're just going a bit wide. And Tor with the big heads up spidey sense there, able to avoid that one. So pretty awesome stuff, pretty fun to watch, and he's going to move up the position as well as Andrew Love, still sitting behind, let's get this right here, Andy Middleton in the HP car.
Yeah, now one thing I will say, it's always, you know, it's in our job description, it's in our MO that we have to kind of talk about the incidents and anything that goes on out there on the racetrack, not from the perspective of the drivers per se, but from our perspective here in the booth. We have to talk about the way that we see it on the air and not behind the wheel. But that's the thing, as much as for us here in the broadcast booth, it's split second, we don't have a script that we go through on these shows. Nothing is scripted, essentially. We just know that, okay, here's the race start, here's when qualifying ends, here's when you got to take a look at the starting grid. It's all split-second decisions here in the broadcast booth. It's the same out there on the racetrack. These drivers making split-second decisions. I've made split-second decisions both on the air and behind the wheel that I have learned to regret. Many of them, in fact. And I think that may have been one for Andrew Love, just trying to go for the move, maybe seeing a little bit of red. The thing about this racetrack is, as much as it is a little bit draft heavy, can be a bit tricky to get some moves done, and there can be a sense of frustration in an odd way, just like a growing sense of contentment, being like just you look at, there's only so many times you can look at the same back of a race car before you start to hate it. You know, that's usually what I do whenever I look at any sort of thumbnail that I made for my own YouTube videos. I'll look at all the time until I absolutely despise it. And sometimes that happens out there on the racetrack. Nobody's immune to it, frankly. I think that may have been what happened to Andrew. Just saw the back of Tullo's car for the opening stanza of this race. I was like, if I see that purple car one more time, I swear to my divine entity that I will firebomb that machine.
It is easy. It is easy to see red. It's also very easy around here to just make a bad calculation. You go into that corner, and then all of a sudden that computing happens in your brain. The big X pops up and goes, oops, oh no, I'm going to end up in the middle of this corner. And it's like you said, it's hard for us to tell. We have to make a call from here, but that's kind of what it looked like to me. Is he's just very wrapped up in making the pass, and then kind of goes into the corner a bit hot, and then before you know it, you know, that calculation in your head's going, uh-oh, I'm not going to make this one. And that's sort of what happened. He did his best to kind of stay out of it, and Tor really heads up to get out of the way. But good way to put it there, Ron, for sure. They're making decisions out there just like we are up here, too. We get the call wrong sometimes, and you know, that's why it's so fun to be in the booth, to be totally honest. It's sort of like playing a game here as well, trying to get the right shot, making sure we get the right call. And I think you and me are people who really enjoy that. Hopefully our viewers out there enjoy it as well. And if they do, they should subscribe and hit that bell for us. It helps a whole bunch, and we always appreciate it here, don't we, Ron?
That we do, and I gotta say, one of the best parts about commentating and producing a race at the same time is you can time it in with the graphics. So you can hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you can time it out perfectly.
There we go.
It's always very funny. I just hit that button all the time. So I have it rigged up where I have to hit it with my mouse, so sometimes it can be a little bit iffy. Your Monty just went off I think he was so far off the track, he nearly ended up in Mississippi. That was a running wide moment hanging out of turn number 16. Let's take a look at here. It's side-by-side racing with Andrew Love and Andy Middleton right in front. Middleton has a bit of a wiggle, and Monty has to go off the track to try and respond and avoid contact. Heads up driving from all three of those races, frankly, that were involved in that. It does not take two to tango in some cases. Sometimes it takes three.
Oh, yep, some more good avoidance there. from Monty having to kind of take a little bit of liberties on the track there as we see Guido Marzucci on the inside. Looks like he's going to make that one work. Did we get a spin on the inside? No, just slowed down, let him have it. So he's going to make that one work. Yeah, it's starting to get to that point in the race here where you want to look for stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, we did have a spinner. Andy Middleton dropping down like a madman, like a block of tungsten thrown into a bathtub. He's down to P18 at the moment. I was wondering what happened to him because I was surely the gap couldn't have broken up like that. And sure enough, the gap was broken up, but it was because of this.
Yeah, I thought I saw the corner of my eye there. It really looked like somebody was getting pinched, and I think that was probably, it was right there. And he just kind of missed my camera, and he's just going to loop it. And again, that's Andy Middleton doing his absolute very best to stay off his competitor. So huge props to the number 70. Although it ended up in a spin, it did save a couple competitors from getting caught up with him there. So, yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you find yourself in that spot on the track where you know it's just not going to work out. And he stepped on the brakes and cranked the wheel to make sure that he did not clip his competitor there. So good stuff.
Yeah, that's one thing that you always see here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Heads up driving from the field. Everybody wants to keep it clean and green out there on the racetrack, but in the heat of battling, sometimes drama can break out. Unintentional drama, but drama nonetheless. Looking at a bit of drama out here on the circuit right now, running on board with Thomas Renders, looking from behind this number 41 race car, the Dutchman behind the wheel of this machine. A very striking livery on that race car. Some striking liveries right behind. Nearly drivers striking into one another. Looked like Russ Telker from that camera shot got very close to the gearbox cover of Jim Brewster's 933 machine. But this is still a 5-car battle of note. Gorson, the hole punch in this, punching that hole in the air up at the front of it, running in P8 at the moment. Renders right in tow. You got Brewster right behind Russ Telker and Jason Grider, the tail end of this pack. We got packs all throughout this field. This one we have on screen right now, one right behind these racers involving the likes of Edgar Sancinelli, Nick Tullo, and Dan Stasinski. Also have Monty Marzucchi and Stasinski battling a little bit farther behind, farther up the road, and then all the way at the front. We have the battle for the race lead, which is still intense between Felix Simoes and Tortolo. Right time for me to call it out there, side by side.
Yeah, side by side here. You get a good front view off of Darmid Toomey's machine here, and we can see them. They are looking for that place now. Felix Simoes is not happy where he is. We're going to get a bit of grass cutting, a bit of grass mowing. You get a bit of grass in your teeth off of that one for sure. Loving the new iRacing graphics for that kind of stuff. I know on the new tracks it's maybe even a little bit better, but yeah, that particle stuff just looks awesome when you're driving, and the rocks, you can hear them tinging off the car and everything. Just sounds absolutely amazing, adding a whole nother level of immersion. I believe we do have a big audio upgrade coming soon. You can see this draft coming down the front straight here. Really powerful down there, even though it is only a little small rip down the front straight there. He's getting about a car length or something almost to Felix Simoes. You get a little bit closer, you might have a chance to take a jump at him here. I think this is going to be our longest area here for a draft down this straight. See if he can't maybe find himself an opportunity here. Darmid's not going to look up the inside this time. Probably think a little bit better of it into one of our sharper left-hand corners here on the track, and then another pretty long rip down here. Not really going to have it, but Felix Simoes up front there, definitely looking down the back of Tortolo's machine. He has made his way into second place. Have a feeling we're going to have a fight here up at the front. A little bit of lap traffic up there as well to deal with.
I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that is Gary Kittle, potentially. No, I believe that's Tostas. That's Rodrigo Tostas, who's in front of the field at the moment. Gary Kittle already one lap down, slotted in 24th at the present moment. Saw some drama not too long ago involving Edgar Sancinelli. He's come down to the pits and is out of this race from the looks of it. He was involved in the battle with the likes of Dan Stasinski and Nick Tullo, and it was Tullo and Sancinelli side by side as they headed their way off through turn number 15. Contact made. That is a big whack, and that's got to take him out of it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Ed Sancinelli, admin of the AMS American Muscle Series, that'll be coming back to slow motion broadcasting shortly. I believe on the 13th will be our first round there. Great guy, and Edgar's a great guy, and we've spoken with him a few times now. Really looking forward to that series, and we'll bring you a bunch more information about that soon. But we'll have those Mustangs back ripping around with some of the better drivers on the service there as well. Big fight here between Alexander Gorson and Jim Brewster. Also, oh, wow, we almost went 3 wide into T1 there. Not always the best idea. Gerson really showing some speed in all classes here as well in the SRFs. I believe maybe he's been in the FFs a couple times, but did very well in the FFs last year. So I would expect, in the SRFs last season, I would expect to see some moves out of him around here. He is a fast driver. And some pretty cool livery on that machine too. I'm gonna guess that he has a VR headset on with that VR 4.6 right there. Pretty cool stuff. I run triples, but we'll try VR one of these days.
I remember one time, it was the first time I ever wore a VR headset. It was in a Verizon store in the northeast of Philadelphia. It was a little roller coaster simulation that they had, and in the midst of all of that, I fell onto the tile floor because I got so dizzy and disoriented from the VR headset, standing up, seeing this roller coaster ride play out in front of me. I would not recommend that, and I think that was a pretty big embarrassment. I nearly moved out of the city entirely just to avoid running into anybody who ever saw that situation firsthand. Holy cow, that's Tortello and Felix Samoas. And look at Love and Toomey trying to make it 3 wide into turn number 14. Oh, it's not going to work. Contact made. Around goes Love off into the dirt, and Felix Samoas has got to have some damage. That was a pretty significant clunk to the front end.
Yeah, it had to boil over there, didn't it, Ron? The pot was definitely humming on the stove there for sure, and unfortunately Andrew Love was going to be that boiling point. We'll have a go back and look at that, but again, some pretty tenuous driving there between those drivers, and it ended up with we lost a couple drivers there actually. So let's go back and have a quick peek at this here, and it looks like we're going to lose Tullo sort of out to the outside here. No, Tullo's going to take off, so let's see exactly. Unfortunately, just not enough room. I'm not sure that Andrew Love knew that they were 3 wide at that moment, Ron.
Yeah, and this racetrack is extraordinarily wide, so sometimes you can make it 3 wide in these, especially in these small little Formula Vs, and not really realize it just because there's so much space around you. Now, what started that off was side-by-side racing between Tullo and Samoas heading off through the chicane. I'm going to elaborate on that point a little bit later. There's Toomey on the inside curve through 14. He runs out a little bit wide, kind of forces Samoas into the side of Love. So I don't think there was really anything that Andrew Love could have done there. Very unfortunate. I think Toomey was not too sure about the situation. Fanned out a little bit to try and set himself up well through turn number 15. Turns 14 and 15 toward the back end of the circuit. There is a little bit of offset there where you have to kind of meander the car in a little odd way. It is tricky to try and go side by side, most certainly 3 wide through that section of the racetrack, even with how wide it is. But that has broken it up in the front as Samoas once again having a moment. That's the 12 and 13 chicane. That's exactly where things start to go wrong 1 lap ago. Now the chicanes, we already saw it with Love and Tullo earlier on this race. Just saw it once again with Samoas 2 laps in a row, in fact. Side-by-side racing through those sections of racetrack here at Barber. Doesn't matter what car you're racing in, it'll usually end poorly for the simple sake that the curbs, as I mentioned a bit earlier on, they can be lethal. They can be really lethal to any sort of race car, most certainly the Vs. I believe it was Pietro Fittipaldi a couple of years ago that whacked one of those curbs and nearly rolled it, hitting the tire barriers on the outside so hard. The side-by-side running through the chicanes, even in these plucky little Vs, it can work out well more often than not, for the simple sake that going through that section, if you get the entrance wrong, it's just going to snowball from there. There's no manual brakes. The track flows together in many sections and many points where if you get the entry wrong or you get the middle portion wrong, it's going to result in something 10 times worse when you exit.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it actually too, is it does. You find yourself almost lost in the middle of the corner every once in a while, especially when there's other drivers kind of cutting shapes around you and so on. And I think that was a classic case there, the 2 drivers on the outside, of just target fixation on the line that they wanted to take, and you could see them, they both kind of merged in front of the driver, all kind of trying to go for that same piece of road and be the first guy to get there. And unfortunately, that's what happens every once in a while. You know, again, we got some really good drivers out here. They're never meaning to run into each other, and it had to be, you know, almost cleared him on the outside there, but not quite. And I think you're right, Ron. This place is unique like that. It's very wide, and there actually is a few different lines through the corner. Really, only one fast one, but there is lots of different ways to kind of get there, and it can cause some confusion like that as to where exactly to place the car. And we've seen it happen a couple times this race, I think.
And you know, one thing about this racetrack as well, talking about how wide it is a consistent width too. There isn't many sections of this racetrack, if any at all, where it bottlenecks. You know, there's a lot of racetracks out there, ones that we've already visited throughout the season. Take the likes of Donington Park and Snatterton as good examples of tracks where there's some sections that feel significantly narrower than others, and this racetrack doesn't really have that. It is wide, but uniformly wide. You can see the 3 strips of asphalt that make up the entirety of this track. Now, if we were using one of the shortened configurations and had to use those detours, even then they look like a consistent width, which usually you'd think, oh yeah, it's just mass-produced racetrack, this, and the third. But no, I think it gives it a unique challenge, a unique feel, a bit of odd character to this racetrack. The fact that it is wide, but consistently wide, so you don't have to worry about that sort of like 5 lanes turning into 3 effect that you have on most certainly street circuits.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I think you kind of keep that in the back of your head while you're out there too, and it can actually hurt you. So you think, I got lots of room. You know, we can go 3 wide through everywhere on here. Maybe that hurts you every once in a while. You're kind of keeping that in the back of your head that you have that room, or that maybe perhaps the other driver has that room to give you. Maybe would be a better way to put it, and then it just doesn't work out every once in a while. So yeah, as we've seen a few of them here, we're just getting Edgar in the chat here. Unfortunately got some damage, and he's going to have to retire out of this one, but we got that AMS series coming up pretty soon. We'll get those Mustangs out there and get some racing done with those guys as well. But for now, the Formula V is really showing us a good time here at Barber. Jim Brewster slipping back just a little bit now, fighting with Jason Grider. We've seen these packs sort of break up, Ron, perhaps because of that width of the track, perhaps because you have the ability to kind of make a pass almost anywhere and get beside anyone. You can probably get 4 wide around here through a corner if you really pushed it and had some drivers, and that's going to cause some issues every once in a while when you think you can stab one up the inside or maybe even down the middle.
Yeah, I like the point that you raised there, talking about how the width of the track is a bit of a double-edged sword, because it can make sure that you can do side-by-side racing well, but it can also invite side-by-side racing into sections where you really shouldn't be going side-by-side. Like the 2 chicanes on the back end of the circuit is a pretty good example of that. Yep. Looking at some side-by-side racing here, Guido Marzucchi just got a move put on Jörg Mani. This is a battle for the final podium spot as the top 3 really spread out. But as Marzucchi got the move done, Mani now feeling pressure from Szynski. Brian Szynski making his debut in the Spec 1 category here in this season of Formula V Weekend Warriors competition. Your reigning Spec 2 champion, putting in some pretty good performances right now in the Spec 1 category, holding on to 5th at the moment, and very much so within striking distance to jump his way into 4th.
Yeah, Guido showing some speed. You know, we were talking about him last season or so, and I said, you know, it almost seemed to happen right after I said it too. I was like, you know, Guido needs to just get a little bit more spicy out there, a little bit more aggressive. He's got the speed, he's got the talent, he knows how to pass people, he can drive really clean. He just needs to get a little bit more aggressive, and that's exactly what he has done here. He has found a way to get that car around other cars and do it cleanly, and it's paying off for him. He's up into 3rd place now with a little bit of incidents in front of him, keeping it clean. It's not quite over yet with Jörg Mani, another driver who is going to race you into corners. He wants that win. He may be a Masters driver, but you wouldn't know it out there most of the time. I've been in front and behind Jörg many times, and he is a great race car driver. He's going to make sure he races you clean, and he's going to get that pass down as well around Guido Marzucchi and into 3rd place. So it's up to Guido now to make that one work, and maybe it will come to fruition here that my prediction that he's getting a little bit more aggressive, and he's going to have to also get defensive here. Oh, and unfortunately, we're going to have an incident there. We'll have to go have a look at that. It looks like maybe Mani had a little bit of an incident. Guido couldn't get out of the way, unfortunately. So, curse of the commentator there. Sorry, Guido. I don't usually have those powers. Usually they are Ron's. Apparently mine are growing. I apologize.
The commentator's jinx can spread. Let's go. I apologize to Guido and Jörg there. Unfortunate moment, hang off through turn number 5. We're going to take a look at that. In the meantime, the Tortolo about to complete a 3rd win in a row to start off the season of Formula V Weekend Warriors action. Already trying to staple his name onto that champion's crown, as there was the moment. Yeah, Jörg Mani sideways snap midway through the turn. That's going to snowball from there. But one driver who, even though we had a bit of drama a bit earlier on in this race, has been a smooth day in the office for the driver, the number 90, Tortello, rounds his way through the final turn onto the start-finish straightaway to win his third race in a row here in Season 1 of 2026 for the Formula V Weekend Warriors. There's a checkered flag for Tolo. He's victorious. Photo finish material there was Szynski, Love,
Very cool.
and Samoas in the green, yellow, and red cars respectively. The stop lights coming across the line and put it on a fantastic battle right towards the end. They finish in third, fourth, and fifth respectively, and that's another close finish with Chip Brewster and Jason Grider. Despite the fact that we didn't see the battling up towards the front after that drama involving Felix Samoas, it was still a pretty fun race, it must be said, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Barber always kind of throws up a pretty good race. You're racing the track around here quite a bit, eh? So it's, it makes things pretty fun. You can get my Canadian out there with the A's. I try not to keep those in there too much, but comes out every once in a while. But very, very good race around here as usual. Barber always seems to throw up some excitement for sure. And again, it did not disappoint here. Some great driving up front, some really good avoidance there a few times as well. Very heads up driving, very clean and respectful in the V's at all times. I don't think we're going to have too many boilovers here. We're seeing in the chat already, hey, sorry, Guido, absolutely my bad. That was from Jorg having a little spin in front of him and so on. So keeping it copacetic around here, keeping it friendly, and we'll be on to the next round. But Tor is going to take that one fairly demandingly around here again, able to keep it clean, able to stay away from those incidents and so on. And that's exactly what you need in the Formula V's around Barber.
Yeah, no, that was a very fun race here for round number 3 of the season, and hearing in the chat as well from Frito that he enjoyed this combination, and I can imagine so. This was a pretty fun race to look at from our perspective here in the broadcast booth, and I think we'll get the opportunity to have a chat with some more drivers to see whether they enjoyed being behind the wheel at this racetrack as well. I'm kind of worried what sort of jumping shenanigans are going out there on the racetrack. That medevac helicopter may have to get broken out in case we see a driver strike the moon. Now, last time out, we saw some pretty interesting ones. I believe it was Wayne Baltimore that got stuck into the outside fence on turn number 1 at Donington Park, and I said that he was like a rat stuck in a glue trap, which is the first time that's ever been said in my entire broadcasting career. Oh my goodness! I fully thought we were going to see a driver ballpark it there.
Oops. That was one of the... Oh,
man.
my goodness. That is one of the best ones yet, for sure. We got a good camera on this one. I'm just going to hold here and see if anybody else decides to go in there. That was mega. That one launched off of Andrew Love, just airborne into the catch fence and then off the tires. And we saw a bunch of other people also do the same thing. That was just great, actually. That was a really good one at the end. We might have to use that for some clips. I'd probably slow it down, put some classical music to it, and we got ourselves a viral video there, perhaps. Oh my God, I'm just looking at it on YouTube here on the delay. That was huge. That was a huge crash at the end there. We'll see if we can't maybe, I wonder who hit Andrew first there. Who was that? Let's see if we can't get him on board with someone here, perhaps, before we decide to, we're not going to be able to find it. Awesome that we burn it down at the end of these races, though. Pretty unique, to the sim racing and maybe even to the Weekend Warriors here. You got to give them a big thumbs up and a big thank you for being so entertaining every week and just having fun with it. Such a great group of drivers, sponsoring their own races every week. These are all sponsored up before the season even starts. They're so passionate about this stuff. It's just awesome to be a part of it.
Yeah, I always love being a part of these Formula V broadcasts. This is, I guess now I'm thinking, which is why you can smell the smoke. Coming up to my 7th season of covering Formula V action. Because I'm thinking it was it was season 3 of 2024 when I started. So I guess this is my 6th season covering Formula V action. But you can take that with as many grains of salt as you'd like. Actually, yeah, I'm second guessing myself now. So the smoke is billowing here in my room as I cook my brain cells. We're trying to find this replay still because I want to, this was a second round where I thought we were going to have a driver ballpark it. Oh my goodness me. That has got. I want to meet the person who
Michelle
installed that catch fence, because that is the strongest fence I've ever seen.
Yeah, Michelle Lynn, that was a hard hit right there. That was a big one for Michelle Lynn. Absolutely lawn darting the machine into the wall there for our entertainment. So we have to definitely thank everybody for taking one for the team. There it was. There, I think that was that. I think it was York Monty, wasn't it? Let's see if we can't get a replay of Monty. Oh man.
Oh, golly.
I think that's probably enough. Yeah,
It's
pretty
just an
awesome stuff there.
explosion of sound waves.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just an explosion of noise.
Pretty awesome stuff. Well, let's get to our results here, Ron, and then maybe we can get to some interviews if we have some people waiting in the interview room. Let's look like we have a few people here. Let's get through these results real quick, and then we'll go from there. Those are the qualifying results. We'll just ignore that happened. And there we go. Thor, P1, once again, going to be able to pull that one out. Pretty awesome driving. Some good avoidance there from Thor to bring it home into P1. Dharma Toomey is going to take P2 with Apex Twin Racing. In P3, we have Brian Straczynski, today's sponsor, so thank you so much for that. Andrew Love, even after all of that controversy there and back and forth between other drivers, able to hold it out in P4 as the first Masters driver as well. Felix Samoa is holding on to P5. Thomas Renders P6. Russell Telker is going to take P7. Jim Brewster in P8. P9 will be Jason Grider, and in P10 we have Alexander Grossen.
Yeah, then looking through the rest of the field, we got Nick Tallo slotted in P11, Dan Szynski in P12, Martin Visser in 13th, Michael Lattarulo in P14. It's Michelle Lynn in 15th in front of Andy Middleton in 16th place. P17 will go to Brian Hansen at the end of all of this. Brian Belansky is slotted right behind in 18th place. A little bit of drama as we got farther along, so some of these races that we're going to see on the second page of the results ran into some difficulties late. Guido and Jurg had that bit of drama hang down to the hairpin for one of the last times in this race. They ran down your top 20. Brett Thompson finishes right behind in 21st. Rodrigo Tostes in 22nd. Stephen Westcott in 23rd. Gary Kittle in 24th. Edgar Sancinelli dropped out of the race with damage in the mid portion, and so did Brad Cathcart, who dropped out early. So those are your results for round number 3 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on SMB. Lots of rhyming going on there. So before I cook the rest of my brain cell, let's drag in Tortella, our race winner, to have a chat. I want to ask him whether or not he got so bored towards the end of that race that he went to check his email. Tortello now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Tor, welcome in. It's another victory for you. 3 wins in a row to get the season up and rolling. How was it out there at Barber today?
Well, Ron, I gotta say, I think this was the most difficult one for me. I really didn't feel like I had the outright pace right from the beginning of practice, and I really don't know how I got pole, but yeah, it was just a bunch of back and forth, and I got pretty lucky with the incidents and just kind of managed the gap and yeah, somehow won.
Yeah, walking away with the W as some drama was going on around you. I want to ask you a bit of drama throughout this race. It was yourself and Andrew Love who had a bit of a tussle down into turn number 10 and 11 when he went for the move and the both of you had to go off the track. I want to ask you about the nerves in that exact moment, because that looked like a pretty terrifying ordeal for the both of you.
There was, yeah, it was pretty interesting in the moment, but yeah, I don't really know exactly what happened. Andrew apologized to me just now, but I really don't think it was much, just like a racing incident, you know? Yeah, just really happy to survive that.
Yeah, I was going to say, side-by-side racing all through the chicanes here at Barber usually ends one way, and that is with 2 wrecked race cars. But thankfully for y'all, it ended in just a light Code Brown moment, shall we say. But it's been a pretty good start to the season for him, it must be said. But next time out, we're going to be heading off to New Hampshire. Now, that's a track that you've driven at in real life. So what are your thoughts heading to that place next time out?
Well, New Hampshire, yeah, it's my former home track, and I don't really like racing there, but I've had so many laps around there that I know it like the back of my hand, and yeah, I love the rain as usual, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, we may have some rain in the picture there as well. That is going to throw a big wrench in the works. But Tor, before we let you go and celebrate this win, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs.
A big thanks as usual to Barber Motorsport and to my content partner Akuma Nimune, and just wanted to give a big shout out to Brian Straczynski. Awesome podium today, and I can't wait to run with him in real life. And big thanks to you guys at SMB.
And thank you as well, Tor. I didn't get the opportunity to say this at the time. Saw the news that you're going to be here in the States in June for the June sprints. That'll be pretty awesome to see you here running a Formula V back in the U.S. But Tor, thank you for joining us. Well done on the win, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack for what's your 16,000th home race in 1 week's time.
Thank you so much.
And that right there was Tortello, your race winner here today at Barber Motorsports Park. And Josh, I will ask you who you want to have a chat with.
Yeah, maybe who do we have there? Let's have a chat with who do we got? Do we have Brian up there, Jason Grider? Let's have a talk with Andrew Love, because he was pretty spicy out there today. I'd like to ask him kind of how things went.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Andrew, that was a pretty spicy race. You really had some good driving going on there, and then all of a sudden we had a real close incident with Tor. Looks like, again, maybe just up the inside, a little bit spicy on him, and but was able to avoid it and able to kind of come back for a good finish in the end there. How'd you see it out there today?
I see it as, once again, I think I owe a few apologies. Yeah, I was talking to Tor in the pre-interview room, and I apologized to him there, but he said, hey, it's all good, we both survived. But after watching the replay, I did kind of straight line the corner, and I just kind of shouldered him off into the weeds. I thought I was given enough room, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, we both survived, like he said, and it was a fun race. Had a great time. I felt fast. I was happy when Tor had gapped us by about almost a second, and then I was like the P2 car, and then we were able to chase him down and get back up to him. So I was happy about that. Anytime you can catch Tor, it's a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. I was mentioning during the race there that it seems, you've been able to find some speed, not just find some speed, but learn sort of how to hang with that front group of cars. Very important stuff to sort of work out who you're driving with, how they drive, and so on. And it looks like you're really starting to put that together, Andrew. Little bit of a bobble there today. Really easy to do around here, we mentioned as well. This place is so wide and just kind of promotes those up the inside moves, and it's, sometimes even for myself, I was mentioning, I get a little bit confused as to which chicane I'm actually going into sometimes. Yeah. And I've actually made a very similar mistake or two, just like yours there. But, Tor actually saw it coming, and some amazing avoidance from him. And then you guys able to sort it out and finish the race in fourth place. So that's a strong finish, even after a bit of a bobble there, Andrew. Would you say the same thing, though? You're getting kind of used to just driving around sort of the faster guys at the front. When you can do that, you kind of get the fog of war, don't you?
100%, red mist. And when you spoke about the going up the inside there, that pass I made up the inside on Andy Middleton, there was no plan in my head to do that. All of a sudden, it just kind of opened up, and I went, yikes! And I just kind of snuck up the inside, and I was surprised I didn't take out the pack of cars, because I thought that maybe I missed the braking marker or something like that. But I was able to hold it on the inside and get that position. But I was wide-eyed. If you could see my if the simulator had eyeball size, it would have been plus 10.
As big as silver dollars out there. Right on. Well, we are headed to New Hampshire, I believe, on our next one. I'm not sure we've really been there in previous seasons, or at least in a while. What are you thinking about that one? Is that one you're going to need to practice a bunch at, or you got that one down pat already?
I've done pretty well there before. We have been there. I think we've been there twice. I believe we were there in the rain.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That track is a little tricky coming onto the start-finish straight.
Sure is.
Because you got the pit wall right there, and you can easily squeeze somebody into the pit wall and knock him into the fifth dimension.
If I remember correctly, there's a big nasty bump there as well on the inside, and a nasty curb and everything too. That whole end section of the course is a little bit fiddly. To be fair, for sure. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I've actually kind of enjoyed racing around there, though. I believe I did in the SRS once or twice, and I think you're right. It was in the rain last time, and maybe Joshua Justice won it. I can't remember, but that should be a fun one. Is there anybody you'd like to thank out there before we let you go, Andrew?
Thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Thank the sponsors. I believe it's the Stasinski's twins.
Yep, Brian Hansen and Dan Stasinski today.
Yep. Okay.
Bryden.
Okay, Bryden. and thanks to all the admins that put everything together and do all the organization and the strong arming to get the funding for the broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. We thank that as well, and thank you for racing out there so well, Andrew. We will see you next week.
All right, thank you. See you.
And that right there was your Masters winner here once again this season. Andrew Love joining us here in the broadcast booth. Now, this is a man that I haven't had the opportunity to have a chat with in a while. So I want to have a chat with Jason Grider here on this broadcast. Jason, welcome in. A pretty wild race out there on the racetrack. Pretty darn good drive for you, walking away with a P9. How was it out there?
It was pretty good. It's such a wide track. It opens up things for people, and they think they can go 3 wide, and you can't go 3 wide. And actually, do well. But I just kind of set a good lap in qualifying. Set my personal best on the lap 4 of that, and just kind of held on as best I could with everybody else.
Yeah, held in quite well and put together a pretty storming drive. Had some battles throughout the race as well. I want to ask you how it's like going side by side here in these Formula Vs at Barber, which despite being wide, it does feel like a racetrack where things can go very wrong very quickly.
Absolutely. Like in practice and in a Friday night draft party stuff last night, it was really clean, but I think everybody kind of realized that it wasn't a 1-lane racetrack. It's very multiple lanes, but it's very technical. You have to be in the right spot in every corner to keep pace up and make pace. And side by side here doesn't work very well. It's hard to make a pass to some extent, but it's not it's not unpassable. That makes sense.
Yeah, there's kind of similar to just the way this racetrack is. There's a certain amount of finesse that you need to get a move done here smoothly. If you can find that finesse, it works out well. If not, it can sometimes end in disaster. But ended well for you here, Jason. Next time out, we're going to be running at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway Roval. And from what I heard from Tor a bit earlier on, there may be some rain in the picture. So what are your thoughts heading to that race in 1 week's time?
We did that the first rain race I think we did was at Reach,
I think you're right.
this league, and it was a ball. It was scary as hell. To be perfectly honest, that corner coming off the main track to go into the back section to go into the bowl, it's like a little sketchy. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can keep this streak of clean racing going and continue to, if I touch anybody, I just get a 0x and not affect their race and not affect my race. Keep on trucking.
And I always, there's a bit of odd charm that I always find from unpopular rovals, and I think they recently refreshed that track as well. I'm not sure if we've gone there since the refresh. If we have, okay, we'll still be able to have a fun race there. If not, that'll be a nice little added storyline as we head off to that race in 1 week's time. But Jason, before we let you go and celebrate this result here today, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to Michelle, Brad Cathcart, both their help over the week in my practice and stuff got me really comfortable with this track. It's kind of my home track, so I was hoping to kind of do well here, and I guess I did. And love this place. I've always loved it. I haven't driven it in person, but visited many times, and it's been a lot of fun. Shout out to my family for putting up with my sim habit, and shout out to Stevie and Jim and Michelle for all their admin work, and the rest of our racers and you guys. Everybody shows up. This is a good race. We had a good turnout for this race, and just super happy to be here with everybody.
Yeah, and awesome to see you out there on the racetrack as usual. Jason, thank you for joining us in the booth. And I am so sorry for what may happen to you out there on the racetrack for XSL or tomorrow at Watkins Glen.
Yeah. Oh God, I ain't even thought about it. I don't think I've been in the car since last week.
I get bad when I think about what that combination may be tomorrow. It sends me into flight or flight. I either want to get away or I want to get the hell away. Jason, thank you for joining us, and well done on the P9.
It was pretty wild in our practice last week. After our race last week, we did a couple practice laps and stuff, and like the new bus stop is going to be a lot of fun, and you don't slow down a lot, so it's going to be interesting.
I think the bus stop could probably be described with one word, and that is lethal. I think that's probably fair to say.
Absolutely.
Well, looking forward to seeing you out there next week, Jason, at New Hampshire, and also looking forward to seeing you out there for XSLR on Sunday nights.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys do.
Yep, it's always our treat. That right there was Jason Grider joining us here in the broadcast booth, and I think we have a little bit of time to have a quick chat with Russ Telker, who had a pretty good race in his own right, trying to figure out, it was P7 for him at the end, and the win in Spec 2. So, Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with Russ Telker.
Yeah, absolutely. Russ, how's it going, man? It was a bit of a frenetic race out there. I saw you in that pack. We didn't really touch on you very much, but we saw that orange and black car in the midst of everything, and you survived all of it, and I think that's probably why you are where you are today. So maybe you can tell us exactly how that one worked out for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, going pretty good today. Yeah, a little hectic here and there. Mostly I was trying to follow along, but yeah, I kind of decided to go for a pass there into that hairpin, and I haven't had a chance to look at the replay, so I'm not exactly sure what happened, but Alexander and I came together just a little bit there, and it looks like it spun him off. I felt bad about that, and right away I made a note to make sure we take a look at that in the review. But yeah, other than that, it went fairly well. I think that was my only incident for the race, and other than that, it was pretty clean. Near the end there, Thomas Renders and I had a couple laps of fun racing. Couldn't quite get past him. I think I was about 3/4 of a car behind him. But yeah, fun race overall. I like that track.
Yeah, we talked about it, with kind of everybody so far. This is the width of this place, kind of promoting side-by-side racing, and that, we really have to kind of make those choices, or whether or not it's going to be a good move up the inside, because you do get that option so often around here. It's kind of a blessing and a curse that it's so wide, and you can race 2, 3, maybe even 4 wide in some places around here. So it's really up to kind of restraint to make it happen right. And myself, I'm bringing up, I actually forget kind of which chicane I'm going into every once in a while. Some of them are much tighter than the other ones. You got to take a lot of curb. Really easy to get the line wrong, but you're able to hold it out today. And I believe we're headed to New Hampshire for our next one, maybe even in the rain. And I believe the last time we were there, we were in the rain as well. We've already heard sort of the horror stories of the back end of that course leading out onto the straightaway. What are you thinking about New Hampshire for next week?
To be honest, I haven't raced there very much. A couple of times in the SRF, and that's it. And I'm not sure if I'm going to make this coming weekend or not. I might be busy. But the track, the little bit I've run there is fun. It's challenging. I haven't run it in the rain, so I have no idea what to expect that way. It'd be interesting to try it out and see what happens.
Yeah, it's always an interesting track. I kind of enjoy the challenge of New Hampshire, it just being so unique and a little bit different. In the rain, of course, is going to throw up another wrench in that. I believe it was raining last time we were there in the V's as well. So that is that. But good performance today, taking the win in S2, and we're on to the next round here. Is there anybody you would like to thank out there before we let you go?
I always just thank the whole community of Formula V racers here in the Weekend Warriors. Stevie for setting up the whole group, and Jim and Michelle for running it, and you guys for broadcasting. All of it's been amazing.
Excellent. Yeah, big thanks to all the admins out there and the hard work that goes on behind the scenes to get these things happening, and thank you for the kind words there, Russell. We will catch you next week, perhaps at New Hampshire, and great S2 win today.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Thanks, sir.
And that right there was Russell Tucker. golly,
Ooh.
Russell Telker, our
There we go.
Spec 2 class winner here today. As my tongue gets wrapped around my teeth about 16 times, Josh, we depart with Barber and head off to New Hampshire next time out. With the rain maybe in the picture, that is going to be probably more of a venture off into the unknown, frankly, than today, even though that racetrack has been run before in the wet, and many of these racers were there for that.
Yeah, I do remember that race quite well, and it was a good race. You know, we always seem to have pretty good races around New Hampshire, especially in the V's. I'm looking forward to it. The rain always adds a little bit of an extra layer there as well. So, I think it's going to be good and a good challenge for everybody. I'm looking forward to New Hampshire next week.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, you'll be able to catch all of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And speaking of, here's what we have coming up on SMB over the next few weeks. XSLR, as I mentioned in that interview with Jason Grider, is going to be running the 15th round of their season. That'll be some more TCR action at Watkins Glen on the boots configuration with the back end chicane, the bus stop chicane that is probably going to be brutal, I think, would probably be the most genteel way that I could put it. And then this upcoming week, we have got you covered with Sim Racers Group F4 action at Lebanon On and SRG F3 action at the Daytona Road Course. F3 cars
nice.
at Daytona. That seems like a bit of a draft fest. I'm looking forward to tuning into that show. And then, of course, next week, you'll be able to see the Formula V Weekend Warriors action at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway on the road course, although the oval race would be rather interesting if they ever ran that, or on the Legends Oval, if anyone's ever seen the New Hampshire Legends Oval. That track is in the Hall of Fame of weird iRacing circuits. You can see the rest of the action coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of it. Also, take a look at the YouTube shorts as you're here on the SMB channel as well. But as for this broadcast here, for round number 3 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here at Barber Motorsports Park, and the first broadcast on Slow Motion Broadcasting here in the calendar year of 2026, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.